Well, if you haven't noticed yet, there is a changing of the guard in the city of Newark, New Jersey. The new mayor, Baraka, he's on a crusade against a few things, but most importantly, the alarming violence in his city. He's also questioning how Facebook's $100 million donation to Newark schools has been spent. Well, Mayor Baraka, he spoke to our own Dominic at Newark City Hall about that. Also, Governor Chris Christie and his predecessor, former Mayor Cory Booker.
So help me God. So help me God. Congratulations, Mayor.
Let me begin this way, Mr. Mayor. A good news, bad news scenario. The good, in fact, the great news is that you have been relentless in a nonstop effort to curb violence in the city of Newark. Rapper Common joined you at an event. P. Diddy tweeted about it in full support of you, Mr. Mayor.
Today is the day we march against violence. We march against death.
But the bad news, during your, quote, 24 hours of peace, 2 murders occurred. Can Newark effectively combat this culture of violence?
Yes, I think that Newark and most cities like Newark in America have to combat it. There are things that we can do in terms of police officers, in terms of local initiatives and plans to help reduce crime numbers or reduce violence, to get it manageable, whatever that really means. But it's going to be necessary for us to get support and help on the federal level to help us mitigate and stop some of these issues in the long term to make it consistent. Last 20 years, we've been as low as 55, murders in the city, which is a lot to me, and as high as 111. When I first came in 2014, the year before that, Newark was the 3rd city with the most violent crime, and we began to reduce it down from there, but it's still at a dangerously high level, and we are going to need investment, I call an urban Marshall Plan. We're going to need investments to put people to work, serious job training, public works projects, all of those kinds of things to begin to revitalize neighborhoods and communities, to strengthen families, to begin to get them the support that they need to help reduce the level of poverty and unemployment in these cities.
Mr. Mayor, on a personal level, and I guess I'm asking from one African American to another, even though you're the mayor of this great city, does the violence break your heart?
Absolutely.
3-year-old Ramir Tellis was walking to school with his mother down South 7th Street near the intersection of 15th Avenue in Newark when he was struck and killed by a car being chased by police.
I think the most troubling one was Ramir Hakeem Tellis, a 3-year-old child who was a victim.
Wait, Mr. Mayor, you said 3 years old?
Yes. His name will always be on the minds and hearts and mouths of many Newarkers for years to come. And it happened September the 11th.
Mr. Zuckerberg, what role are you playing in all of this? Are the rumors true? Will there be a check offered at some point? Yes.
Yeah, I've committed to starting the Startup Education Foundation, whose first project will be a $100 million challenge grant.
$100 million?
$100 million.
A lot of people don't know that you were also a school principal that turned around 2 failing schools from negative into positive. And that leads me to Facebook. Everyone saw the moment on Oprah Winfrey's show, Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook, donating with Mayor, your predecessor, $100 million to benefit the children of Newark in terms of education. What happened to that money, and was it well spent?
Initially, it was, spent on more politically oriented kind of things to push people's own political ideology or policy in terms of what they thought reform would be.
Charter schools.
Charter, but not necessarily all charter schools. So charter schools did benefit from it, but also teacher contracts, the whole tenure fight that was going on in the city, all kinds of issues, even merit pay. So all of that stuff, money was spent towards that, which is more ideological than practical to me. And there's some real pragmatic things that could have been done, and that's being done now, as a matter of fact, with that money that could have went a long way. And I think that the organization has figured that out on its own, and it's beginning to spend the money in a better and more prudent way. You know, whether you're talking about employment for kids, help creating pipelines from school to college, giving teachers access to dollars for supplies in their classroom. All of those things go a longer way, in my estimation, than helping a contract get passed.
So the book is correct in terms of the book about the criticism of this $100 million, that it went to many things except to directly benefit the children.
Well, I didn't really read the book yet. I'm still, I got to get through it. So I can't really comment intelligently about what it says. What I do know, initially, the money was put into a fund. A board came and they governed how the money was spent. And a lot of those people weren't from this area, so they spent the money based on how they were advised to by the superintendent, Cammie Anderson, at the time, and folks in the city who advised them to spend money in ways that pushed her specific agenda and not really the agenda of the city. We are long past that. Thank God she's not here. The money is now, they're taking more broad kind of advice about how to execute this money and help transform Newark's educational system, and it's a lot better.
Assess the current governor of your state, Governor Christie.
Well, he's a presidential candidate now, so I think he's more of that at this point of the game than he is the governor. So I think he's the governor still by title, but right now he's a presidential candidate. In Newark, for a long time, he's been in opposition to a lot of the things that we need to help our city become healthy and grow. Our struggles with him, back and forth, we are trying to get him to do things to support our city, to support, cities like Newark, to get them to be healthy, to be strong. And ideologically, there's some things we're just not going to agree upon because he's a Republican, I'm a Democrat, he's more conservative than I am. So we're just simply not going to agree on many of the issues, whether you're talking about school, economic development, taxes, a lot of things like that, we're not going to agree on.
Do you like Governor Christie?
As a politician, you're talking about? I don't agree with his policies. I don't agree with a lot of things that, he represents. I don't really know him as a person like that because we haven't had a relationship.
Assess your predecessor, Cory Booker. Good mayor, bad mayor?
Well, I think Cory Booker is where he's supposed to be now. He's the senator of the U.S. Senator. I think that's a suit that fits him well. I think that's what he should be. I support him as the senator, as the U.S. Senator. Ultimately, there's some things that were, going on in the city, and it's not a secret that him and I have been at odds on a lot of issues.
All right, when we come back, the government, they executed Ethel and Julius Rosenberg, as you know, at Sing Sing, and that's been more than 50 years ago, but the controversial case continues. We'll talk about that on the other side of this break.